As the sun slowly crept into the sky, it filled the morning air with warmth and life. Sounds of birds in harmony, and you there right next to me.
Warmest day in a few.
It is really nice out today. I like the sun. It's that time of year.
5 minutes a day.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had to do it all over again, would you?
Oh, honey. I'd marry you in a heartbeat. You know that.
Oh, that's not what I was talking about.
What are you talking about?
Would you come to Alaska again? Would you do it over again?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say that most likely, you probably agree that we came here with Discovery Channel expectations. What I mean by that is we watched all the Alaska channels and Discovery, and we kind of had this expectation maybe that that there was a cabin in the woods for everybody and there's moose frolicking all over the place. What we discovered, though, is in this incredibly large state with a population of 740,000 and a transient community that just seems to be this back and forth of people coming and going, that after you're here for a while you kind of realize that why that is, why it's so transient, and why the population ain't more than what it is. There was an author, his name was John Krakauer, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, and he wrote this book, Into the Wild, and he had this this phrase that he said Alaska has always been a magnet, he said, for dreamers and misfits, people who think the unsullied enormity of the last frontier will patch all the holes in their lives. And I think that when I read that, it kind of matches something that a lady had told me while I was waiting in Subway before we moved to Alaska. And we were talking about relocating and retiring and all those things, and life changes. And she had said, she said, you always run to something and not away from something. And I think when I thought about that, I thought she was right, that no matter where you go and no matter what you do, the reason you came does matter. So a guy had told me that his dad had come up to Alaska to visit him, and they were up in Fairbanks, and after about a week, this guy had asked his dad, he said, Dad, what do you think? You know, what do you think of Alaska? And his dad looked at him and he said something. He said, to me, he said, looking at Alaska, he said, and driving around, he said, in a lot of ways, he said, it looks like a land of broken dreams. He said, you see vacant houses and cars and stuff like that. And he said, it looks like there's a lot of people who come here that maybe just don't make it.
Walking in cold nights with your hand in mine, all wrapped up warm, sitting by the fire. This life is the best, living wild and free, with you there right next to me. Oh, no matter where we go.
First year here, they even got a name for you. It's called Chichaco. And Chichaco means newcomer. And most people that come here, I think in their first year, in my opinion, they come with this probably this frontier spirit, that first year that they're going to conquer the Alaskan wilderness, and it's actually a very exciting time, I'd say.
It is. It is. There's so much to learn, and so many new things that you're not used to, and it's just different.
You get surprised by things.
You do.
Our first year was probably not as fun as we'd want it to be. But that's probably for another episode. But it is that attitude, though, of trying to conquer the first year, and it's kind of exciting how you do that. I think, though, the second year that you're here in Alaska, I think reality starts setting in, don't it?
Yeah, once you go through a winter, our first winter, we probably had 8 feet of snow. And that was, we came from snow, but that was a lot of snow.
Yeah. I think the reality of it is that it not just you kind of get the reality of it, but it's almost as you learn a little something from the first year.
Yeah.
But I think what you do learn also too is that just like every place else, I mean, you need to make money. You can't. Yeah. You got to do something for money, whatever that is, and you got to shop. You got to go get your food. You can't grow everything. You can't shoot everything, and you can't catch everything. Eventually, it's those routines are the same no matter where you go. That's kind of the second year. But I think the third year, I think, is the make or break year. That's what I would say. Is that the third year? I think it really sets in that if you're homesick, if you have a tendency to be homesick for people or things back from where you're from, I think that realization that there's this country, this whole country between you and the rest of the United States, and I think once you go home a couple times or go back to where you're from, is you realize what an adventure that is. I mean, the drive is 5 days, 6 days. The flights are never really that easy.
Yeah, once that honeymoon phase wears off of being here, then you start realizing I'm a long ways away from the lower 48 and family and what you've known. You're just a long ways away, and you start to realize that sometimes you feel like you're in another country because a lot of places don't like to ship to you.
Oh yeah, the shipping.
The shipping because you're in Alaska.
Yeah, and our stuff all comes in on a port.
It does.
Pretty much dependent on the port and Amazon.
Yeah, you have to. If it wasn't for Amazon, I don't know what we'd do.
I think the other thing is what I've seen is you both have to be in unison on this. Like if you come with somebody or a partner or whatever, and one or the other doesn't like it after year 3. You're gone.
Pack your bags and go home.
U-Haul going south is probably you.
Yeah. You have to be on the same page. It will never work up here if you're not.
Yeah.
But what I found coming up here, we come up here with just us. We didn't know anybody, and what it really did is it strengthens our marriage.
I would say we depend on each other a lot more.
Because you depend on each other more. You're what you have.
Yeah.
And I think it can make your marriage stronger.
Yeah. I would say this too, is that if you come from a small town like we did, you're always that kid in high school. You know what I mean? Everybody in town knows you from that kid in high school, or they know you from your so-and-so's brother or your so-and-so's son or daughter or whatever. And no matter what you do,
you never grow up in your hometown.
Yeah.
Because, I remember them from high school.
Yeah.
And then you're always like you were in high school, even though you're 50 years old. Yeah. And you're nothing like you were in high school.
But you're always that guy.
You're always that way.
But when you come here, and we only knew 2 people barely.
Barely.
We had no family, no nothing or whatever. We would go to places and no one knew us. And that was so refreshing.
It was. It was like a weight lifted off, because nobody knew anything about you, and the only thing people know about you is what you tell them.
Or you show them.
Or you show them. And what we found out about living in this area of Alaska is they're not interested in that stuff. The locals and the other people that live here, they take you for who you are today.
Yeah.
You know, and that is really a refreshing thing.
It is. And I think after you've been here a while, and you've been here, 8 years or whatever, is that you take other people that way, right?
Yes.
You meet new people that come in all the time, and you take them at face value till they show you different, and
that's, right.
That's kind of a refreshing way to look at it.
It is. It comes with a certain amount of freedom.
It does. But that third year,
yeah,
that's the make or break.
It'll be the make or break.
Into the sky, it filled the morning air with warmth and life. Sounds of birds in harmony, and you there right next to me. Oh, no matter where we go, oh, my heart is yours to own. Through all the storms, I'm by your side. Through days of warmth, I'm by your side. Like the stars and the moon in the nighttime sky, I'm by your side. Walking in cold nights with your hand in mine, all wrapped up warm, sitting by the fire. This life is the best, living wild and free.
First year I was here, a guy told me that he said, everybody that you see going south of the U-Haul, you got to wave to. And the reason is that because of those things that we talked about, this transient area and the amount of people coming and going, is that this PFD that we get, that permanent fund dividend that they pay you to live in Alaska every year, is dependent on the amount of people. So if we see somebody heading south with a U-Haul, he told me, he said, that just meant that your PFD went up just a little bit and you should wave to him. So I thought that was kind of funny. But the thing about it is seriously, is that in some ways, Alaska is almost like stepping back in time. You see a lot of videos and you see things where people are collecting water. The idea of outhouses is pretty common here. We're going to be showing a picture of this 2-story outhouse of this guy. His name was Stosh up in Trapper Creek. And when you look at that outhouse, you just got to take a second and just ponder that scenario right there. But it is true. It is like stepping back in time, isn't it? It's like we were used to a bigger police presence back in our hometown too. I mean, there was the city police, there was the county officers, there was the state police. We're here, it's not so much. We got the Alaskan State Troopers who do a great job, but they're spread out. The closest trooper base is Wasilla, which is, probably almost an hour away in an emergency. So having said that, in a lot of ways, you're your own security. And you see a lot of people that are carrying here, and it's an animal situation. You got to be prepared for just about everything, but it is a security issue too, is that you don't want to put yourself in a bad situation and you're an hour away. So it's kind of that mentality here, isn't it?
It is. Well, they call it the last frontier.
Yeah.
And that's it really is the last frontier.
Yeah. You have to be prepared for just about everything.
You do.
And I think the food security thing is a big deal.
Yeah.
I mean, if we didn't grow as much as we did.
Yeah, that's why I have chickens, for our eggs, and we grow a large garden, and we like to be as self-sufficient as we can be. We mentioned before that, that all of our stuff comes in on the port. And I've always had the fear if something happened to the port, I'm not going to have any food. So it would probably take a matter of a day or two for the grocery stores to empty out.
Yeah.
And, so we grow a lot of our own food, a lot of our own vegetables. I can a lot of food. We have our chickens. We buy beef from a local farmer.
Yeah, this year was great. We have a local friend of ours who grows Highland cows, and we bought a half a cow from him. We're on the roadkill list, which is it's a must, I think, here, because the roadkill list is not possum on the street here. It's if somebody hits a moose and you get on that salvage list, they'll call you up, and they got certain restrictions to it. You got a certain amount of time to get there and all that stuff. But you're talking, what, a 1,600 pound animal that's laying in the road. And even if the shoulder's bad, you get a lot of meat off of that.
You do.
And we've had great opportunities, especially if it's a defense of life. We've had a couple of them calls too, where a defense of life is you got the right to defend your life, right? So if a moose comes in and charges you, which
they do,
especially in the springtime now coming up, and you shoot it, you got to call it in, and then they'll come out and they'll take it and call you up and say, hey, you want this thing, and they're usually shot once or twice, just a little, just like your hunting stuff, but it's a great way to get your protein.
It is.
We love fish, so
yes.
So it's part of what you do here, but you have to learn to be self-sufficient. And we weren't always self-sufficient. We're kind of self-sufficient with Walmart, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, when we were in Wisconsin, we lived in the big house and lived closer to town, and I grew a lot of flowers.
Yeah.
But I didn't grow a lot of vegetables and stuff. I wasn't so concerned about my food security down there as I am up here. And I know it has to do with the port, but that's always in my mind is I have to have enough food put up in case something would happen. And
I hunted back in Wisconsin too. I loved whitetail hunting, and we'd get our share of venison and turkey and all that stuff, but here it's just something different. But I would say though too, is with all that, it costs money to raise animals here.
It does. It's expensive.
I bought a bale of straw the other day. It's $48 a bale. I mean, $48 for a bale of straw.
So what are we paying for a bag of chicken food? 32 now?
Yeah, 30.
30?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the good thing is we got this barter system going on where we trade eggs for seed. They sell them at the feed store, and it's been a blessing that the chickens have been laying pretty good. So they've been taking care of themselves between the fuel oil and the heater and the chicken food, and they've been so it's been good. Part of the adventure and the challenge of Alaska is the unpredictability of it. As you can see here on this sign, on September 21st, 2012, this whole area was flooded. And here was the mark where the water was at, the high water mark. That flood was pretty devastating. It took out the bridge. It took out a few homes. and it took a while to get that bridge rebuilt. And then when we were here in 2018, it did it again. We had a freak flood that night. We had really extreme cold temperatures for an extended amount of time, and it did the craziest thing. It was like in December, and the river just flash froze. And when it flash froze, the whole river went sideways right down this road. And this road here was our only way in and out to our house. And by the time we got up and we got the warning to evacuate, it was too late. And I can tell you, when those guys show up with a rubber boat and helmets, you know things just got real. And so we were trapped back here for about 4 or 5 weeks. We had to make it go. We had a trail going out with the freight sled to get some groceries and our fuel for our generator and all that stuff. But it was a wake-up call that this place is extremely unpredictable. And then we went through a 7.2 earthquake that was just something that I've never experienced in my life. When you feel your whole house feel like it was lifted right up off the foundation and set down, and the damage from it in the area was just crazy. And it just seems like you kind of expect the unexpected when you live here. And between the weather and the earthquakes and the flood and the other things, but part of that challenge is part of that adventure. Talking about unpredictable, this is what you get for a month of January with high winds and a lot of rain, a lot of work. But the bright side is I get some more firewood today. But I think most of all, the reasons why I like it here is there's a freedom here you just can't explain.
There's a sense of quiet here that is like no other place.
And we got space. You know, you can go in any direction, it seems like, and you can find a place that you're alone.
Yeah.
It's like no other place. I think this idea of being self-sufficient is a big deal too. You know, that's not handed to you.
No, you have to earn it. You have to put the time and the effort into to learn. Alaska has different ways. There's different ways of doing things up here.
There is. I would say too is that we were talked about that Discovery Channel idea of you know, everybody gets a cabin and there's moose frolicking around. Yeah. But I've learned if the moose is frolicking,
run.
Run fast.
Run fast.
Yes. John Muir wrote that you should never come to Alaska as a young man, because you'll never be satisfied with any other place after that.
And I can see that.
And,
I can see. I know if we left, I don't think I could ever find another place like Alaska.
Yeah. And like we said, not everybody stays.
Not
Some
everybody
people goes.
does.
You know, but for me, for myself personally, I know that if I left here, that all I would think about is here.
Yep. So the question that I asked you in the beginning, would you do it again?
I would.
Yeah, we would.
As the sun slowly crept into the sky, it filled the morning air with warmth and life. Sounds of birds in harmony, and you there right next to me.